In this video, I will demonstrate how to hand sew a drawstring backpack. You will need cotton material pre-cut into a rectangle that is approximately 32 inches to 14 by 14 inches, 2 yards of paracord, a needle, thread, a needle threader, scissors, a marking pencil or tailor's chalk, a large safety pin, straight pins, a pin cushion, and a measuring tape. With the wrong side of the fabric facing up, we're going to use tailor's chalk to mark 1/2 inch from the raw edge across the fabric. So we're going to make sure that our 1/2 inch marking is along the cut line, and we're going to use our tailor's chalk to mark it along the way. When you've completed marking your 1/2 inch, you're going to flip your fabric over and mark your 1/2 inch again on the other side. Once we've marked our 1/2 inch marking, we're going to mark 2.5 inch markings on our fabric. So we'll line up our 2.5 inch marking with the cut edge of our fabric and mark along the top at 2.5 inches all the way down the side. Using our tailor's chalk. We're going to repeat this on both sides until we have 2 rows of marking 2 inches apart. Next, we're going to fold our cut edge up to the very first marking, and that's going to create a fold that is approximately 1/4 of an inch. We're going to finger press it down, and then we're going to iron it down with an iron. We're going to do this on both sides. Fold it up to the 1/2 inch, creating a 1/4 inch fold. Finger press, and then iron it down on both sides. Then we will fold it up to our next marking, which is marked at 2.5 inches. But with us folding it up to the marking, we're going to create a 1 inch fold. We're going to finger press it down and then iron it down. And we're going to do this on both sides. Now we're going to pin the end that we folded and pressed in place. So insert pins all the way down to secure that folded line in place. We're going to do this on both sides. Starting from the edge, we're going to sew a full back stitch about 1/8 of an inch from that fold edge. And of course, we're going to begin our full back stitch with an anchor stitch. And once our anchor is securely in place, then we'll begin back stitching all the way along the edges until we get to the end of the row. Again, this is going to be approximately 1/8 of an inch from our folded line. We're going to sew our full back stitch on both sides. Removing the pins as we go. After stitching your full back stitch along the edge of both sides, we're going to fold the fabric so that the right sides are touching. You want to make sure that it is even. And once you make sure that you folded it and that it is even along the cut line, we're going to pin it in place. Be sure to not pin the area where we stitched, so we're going to start pinning just under the area where we stitched. We're going to pin both sides, making sure to leave the top part open where the folded edges are. Now that both sides are pinned, our next step is to take a large safety pin and insert it through one of the sides of the paracord or piping. And we're going to use this safety pin to feed it through the casing that we made when we stitched along our folded line. So we're going to insert our piping and feed it all the way through to the other end. There we go. And once you get it through, we're going to adjust our cording so that it is even. Now we're going to take it through the next opening, all the way through the next side. Again, once we get it all the way through, we're gripping to get it all the way through, we're gripping that safety pin and sliding the fabric along the way. And this is going to take our cording through to our next side. We're almost there. And now we're going to put the ends together and try to get it as even as possible again. We're not done yet. Now we're going to take our cording and enter back into the first opening that we started with. And this time when we get to the opposite end, we're going to make it even one last time, and then we'll move on to our next step. Okay, we're almost there. So now we're going to take the ends and try to get them even for the very last time. Now that I worked my cord through and got it pretty even, our next step is to put the cord back through the inside of the bag and bring it out at the bottom about 2 inches from that fold, the bottom fold. You're going to allow about 1 inch of the cord out to hang out from the bag, the cut edge of the bag, and then you want to pin that in place. And we'll do the same with the other side. We'll put that cording through the bag and take it to the bottom, about 2 inches from the bottom fold. Come on out. And then we'll pin it in place once we get it out. There we go. And about 1 inch of that cord will be out. Our next step will be to complete a back stitch. Our next step is to stitch a full back stitch from the top to the bottom, working from right to left, and we're going to do that full back stitch on both sides. We're going to begin just under that fold line with about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. This can be marked. And we're going to begin and end our full back stitch with an anchor stitch. So I'm going to begin with my anchor, and then I will continue stitching my full back stitch all the way down to the bottom of the bag, and I'm going to stitch over that cord to secure it in place once I get that far down. I'm continuing my back stitch, and I just wanted to show you that I'm going to continue my back stitch right over the cording, and of course I'm removing pins as I go. So the back stitch is going to go right over that cording. And I'm going to keep making my stitches all the way to the end. Now that I've completed my back stitches, I can use shears to trim off the extra edge of cording on both sides. Now I'll turn my bag right side out. And you'll see that we have completed our drawstring book bag.